Nash, the Labour Minister of State at the Department of Jobs, Enterprise and Innovation. Now, an insolvency service town hall meeting is about to take place this evening at the Viking Hotel here in Waterford City. Joining me in studio are my next guests, and they are Lurkin O'Connor, Director of Insolvency, the Insolvency Service of Ireland, plus Dungarvan-based Personal Insolvency Practitioner, I can't put my tongue around this today, Practitioner Mitchell O'Brien, and we're also joined in studio by John, and John described in my running order as a debtor. I don't know how you feel about that. Can I come to either of the gentlemen and ask you, what is the Insolvency Service?
Well, the Insolvency Service is an independent statutory agency responsible for returning people to solvency. So we administer all of the solutions that are available for people who find themselves insolvent. And by that I mean people who are unable to pay the bills as they fall due, maybe have difficulty in meeting direct debits, or perhaps robbing Peter to pay Paul, paying a small amount off some bills and others. Those people can, through the Insolvency Service, return to solvency and remove all of those financial stresses and strains that come with that difficulty.
Okay, let's hear John's story. John.
I had my own business, construction. We were doing well. We got a big contract, so we invested in the business. Unfortunately then, the downturn came and business went. There was no income. I was in debt. I was often up 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning at home. I was sitting home in the dark thinking, how am I going to get out of this? Where am I going to go from here? There didn't seem to be any way out. Then I heard on the radio that the insolvency was going to begin. So I got a bit of information about the insolvency. I looked into it. I picked up the phone then. I got Mitchell's name in Dungarvan. I rang Mitchell. We arranged to have a meeting. I met Mitchell. I talked through my situation, all my debts, what I owed, the whole lot, how we could solve it, getting out of the middle.
Without being too specific, but ballpark, what kind of monies are you talking about?
I suppose with myself, my house wasn't involved in it, so I wasn't too bad that way. But just personally myself, I was looking at in the region of 60 to 70,000 debt.
Right.
Which, in the scheme of things, mightn't sound a lot, but it's a lot of money. It was a lot of money for me. You know, it was, as I said, I was sitting up in the mornings wondering exactly where I was going to go.
And this is mounting all the time, isn't it? Because you're dealing with the day-to-day.
Exactly, yeah. And then, of course, some of it then was bank loans to do with the business. So, of course, interest was accruing at the background all the time. And because I wasn't paying debt, it was getting, instead of anything coming down, it was getting bigger and bigger. And because I wasn't working then, I was only on the dole, so I was only getting the €180 a week or whatever it was at the time. So I couldn't afford to pay any of it back. And of course, I mean, you were getting the letters, the phone calls from the bank, all that kind of thing. But
did you open the letters?
I did. I had to open the letters. I had to look at.
Some people don't. That's why I'm asking you the question.
I know. I was trying to deal with it myself. But unfortunately, with my circumstances and with no finances, I opened the letters. But I mean, all I could do was read them. Rang some of the banks, but they didn't really seem to be kind of interested in doing anything for me. So that was when then I found out about the Insolvency Service, and when I rang Mitchell and talked to Mitchell and had to meet with Mitchell, and from that day then forward it was a load off my mind, because you knew there was somebody else out there to help you. You weren't on your own. And like, the best thing I could say is don't keep it all bottled up. Like, you know, pick up the phone, make the phone call, talk to someone like Mitchell, and once you come out of that meeting, it will be a load off your mind, because you'll know that there is somebody out there to help you, and there is help available.
So, Personal Insolvency Practitioner, what do you do? This isn't about debt write-off, is it?
It will incorporate debt write-off. As a Personal Insolvency Practitioner, I'm licensed and regulated by the Insolvency Service of Ireland. There are 4 statutory schemes that are available for people in various situations. The first is a debt relief notice. A debt relief notice is for debts of less than €20,000 and is administered by MABs, who are the approved intermediary. Then there is the debt settlement arrangement and the personal insolvency arrangement. We'll call them the DSA and the PIA. The DSA is for any amount of unsecured debt with no upper limit. The PIA is for debts over €20,000 and less than 3 million. It can be increased in certain circumstances, but it incorporates secured debt and unsecured debt. This is the one that we use mostly where there is mortgage debt, as well as other debts that a family would have. And the fourth scheme is the new version of bankruptcy. When a debtor contacts us, the first thing we do is we get a detailed breakdown of their assets and their debts, and we break their debts down into what's secured and unsecured. Secured being a debt where there's an asset that can be maybe taken,
a house or something,
a car under HP or lease or something like that. And then we look at their income, their net after-tax income, and their expenditure. And all of the unsecured debts are put in one bundle. And we then examine, would the family home mortgage be sustainable if they didn't have to deal with the unsecured debts? If it's still not sustainable, we will look at a restructure of the family home mortgage and add any amount of unsustainable negative equity to the unsecured debt pile.
So when does insolvency become bankruptcy? It's up to the person, is it?
No, it shouldn't be. Now, we facilitate bankruptcies where one of the other options, it becomes evident that one of the options short of bankruptcy won't work. But the legislation is such that bankruptcy has to be the last option. And it is incumbent on all stakeholders to see if the debtor can be returned to solvency in a fair, transparent and equitable way while seeking to protect the family home, but absolutely protecting their reasonable living expenses short of bankruptcy. And if it can be done, bankruptcy is off the table. But if we can't use one of the three schemes short of bankruptcy, bankruptcy is a scheme of protection from one's creditors, and that will return the debtor to solvency.
Now, you've agreed to come on air, John, so then how was this resolved for you?
Well, basically, I got all my details together of all what money I owed and who I owed it to and all that. So once I had all that details together, I handed that then over to Mitchell. So then Mitchell went through it all with me. I was there in his office with him, went through it all of, as I said, this person is owed so much and this person is owed so much. We wrote it all down, and then he went through, as he said there, your living expenses, what you need to live every week, your income then as well. I was lucky enough then that I had a job, I got a job working, so I was able to do this. And then they give you reasonable living expenses. You're not totally cut to the bone, that you don't have anything left at the end of the week. You know what I mean? So Mitchell then went through all that, went through the money that I owed, and then said, well, look, this is X amount of what you can afford to pay. And then once you reach a figure like that, then Mitchell goes on then and he does his end of it then with the creditors.
Sorry, go on.
There's the simplest of calculation that applies to the four insolvency schemes, and that's your net monthly income less your reasonable living expenses. Now, the reasonable living expenses are made up of 4 line items. The first one are set costs, which come from tables. Then there's your housing requirement. So if you're a mortgage owner, it's your mortgage payment, or alternatively, if you're a renter, it's your rent. The third one is childcare. And the fourth one is special circumstance costs. Special circumstance costs would be a cost that one particular family may need to incur that another average family may not. So we add up those 4 things, we deduct them from your net monthly income, and whatever's left over is your capacity to make a contribution in full and final settlement of your specified debts, your unsecured debt.
And it's all debt we're talking about here. I mean, it's your mortgage, it's your credit cards, it's your bank.
At the end of the arrangement, you are left with the sustainable amount of your mortgage. For the avoidance of any doubt, you don't get your mortgage written off over a 5 or a 6 year period. What all of the other debt you would have, including whatever unsustainable amount of your mortgage, and we can work that out mathematically based on your income and less your reasonable living expenses. But it's worth noting that for 80 to 85% of the people that present to us, the reasonable living expenses are aspirational. rather than restrictive. People, their oxygen comes back into the household. There are 16 different spending categories. Nobody wants to manage the detail of a family's spending, but there is...
So you won't be saying cancel your Sky subscription or take that LED TV off the wall, or whatever it's called. I'm not the most untechnical person on the planet, but you know what I'm saying?
No, indeed. I mean, we very much see the reasonable living expenses guidelines that we've produced as a defensive shield for debtors. It's not in any way trying to micromanage their affairs. It's simply, in a transparent manner, identifying an overall figure that people are expected to live within in the context of getting their debts resolved. And as Mitchell and John have said, ultimately the big win is that they return to solvency. Now, we have produced some statistics that have shown that, for example, in relation to secured debt, the average write-off is 20%, and in relation to unsecured debt, the average write-off is 90%. But rather than maybe focus in on what the percentage write-offs are, I think the key message is that it's whatever it takes to return to solvency.
Now, do you think there is a notion out there amongst the public that the Personal Insolvency Board, what you do is for the big boys?
That may well be the case, and I suppose that's why...
Or girls, let's not be sexist here.
But I think that's why through the course of the summer we have stood back and said, why haven't we had more people availing of our services? And we have launched a number of initiatives in the last month. Number one, we've waived all our fees, so we don't charge any fee on through to the end of next year. Number two, we've launched a dedicated website for debtors with very much simplified information. It's backontrack.ie, and what it also includes are debtor stories, not necessarily John's, but others, which explain what it meant for them going through the process and what it has meant now that they're finished the process. And I think it would be fair to say that without exception, those that we interviewed in preparation for the website, they all would say at the end, I just wish I'd done it sooner. And that the sheer weight taken off their shoulders is incalculable.
Now, 90,000 people in this country at the moment are experiencing difficulties with their mortgage, and we'll be talking to a Waterford woman after these messages about how she was helped by the Insolvency Service of Ireland.
Get your weekend off to the best start with giveaways, music and more fun for your weekend breakfast. Waking Waterford Up. Weekend breakfast with Sean Organ. This Saturday and Sunday morning on WLRFM.
Weekends or anytime. Avoid the fuss and take the bus.
Sausages on the plate.
My baby is a little girl. She's growing up. I remember skipping to that tune, waiting for my mum to call me for dinner.
Sausages on the plate.
Now I'm in charge of dinner. Some things change, some stay the same. Like the family favourite in this house is still country-style sausages and mash.
I'm starving. Thanks, Mum. Are they country-style?
Of course. Country-style sausages, the local family favourite for generations.
Today at Soundstore for 12 hours only. Massive deals on TVs, laptops, tablets, kitchen appliances and more. The 12-hour Soundstore sale. 12 noon till midnight today at Soundstore Ballybrickan.
Take a virtual flight to Lapland with Mrs. Claus. Enjoy hot chocolate and make a gift at the Toy Factory. The Christmas experience at Crookstown Service Station and Craft Village, County Kildare. Exit 2 or 3 off the M9. To book, see crookstowncraftvillage.com.
Let's talk about six, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
Make a meal of these Super 6 deals at Aldi with quality 100% Irish fresh meats for just €6 each. That's €6 for a plain or stuffed pork loin joint, a delicious large ham, or 8 chicken fillet portions. €6 for specially selected 28-day dry-aged steaks, 227 grams. A pack of meaty lamb chops, or a 1 kilogram beef housekeeper's cut. See why everyone's talking about the Super 6 deals. Pop into your local Aldi today.
Save €1,400. Save €1,400. Oh, sorry, I should be saying more about the Nissan Leaf, the award-winning 5-door family hatchback, but the savings are getting in the way. The fact that driving the Nissan Leaf can save you €1,400 a year on fuel costs is so good, I got distracted. Visit Nissan.ie or drop into your local Nissan electric vehicle specialist to book your 24-hour test drive today. Nissan. Innovation that excites. Savings figures based on comparison between Nissan Leaf and average diesel engine fuel consumption of 7 cents per kilometre and annual distance of 23,400 kilometres.
Your local Nissan dealers are John C. Flood and Eddie Fitzgerald at Dungarvan Nissan on the Yall Road.
Dublin bound? Get there faster than ever before with JJ Kavanagh's new express routes to Dublin City and Dublin Airport. Some journeys have been shortened by over an hour, and with the addition of a new stop at the Red Cow Lewis line, it's handier than ever too. See full new route details now at jjkavanaghs.ie. Going to Dublin, now there's a quicker way with JJ.
Daysha AM with Billy McCarthy on WLRFM.
With the Irish Daily Mail, a big read for a small price.
My guests are Lorcan O'Connor, Director of the Insolvency Service of Ireland, Mitchell O'Brien, who is a personal insolvency practitioner in Dungarvan, and John, who was a debtor but now is on the other side of that. Joining me now on the line is Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hi, how are you, Billy?
I'm very well indeed, and welcome to the programme. Now, what's your story? It was mortgage debt, mortgage arrears and personal debt.
Mortgage arrears and personal debt, yes. We found ourselves in a situation where we were on a weekly basis struggling to pay the minor bills, don't mind, say the mortgage. My husband was working and I was unemployed. So we went through all the issues with the bank, and, you know, they can only tell you so much. They do what they can, and then at the end of the day it comes down to that you need to pay your mortgage regardless of anything else. So we sought information and advice off a friend of ours who put us in touch with Mitch. And can I just say that was the day that it did change our lives, absolutely. Because
I'm looking at the statistics here in front of me, and all you're left with is 129,677 of a mortgage to be dealing with.
Yeah.
And then when you go down the rest of it, credit card, overdraft, lease, business loan, building supplier, car loan, personal loan, all gone. All gone.
Well, yeah, all gone, but I mean, we still have bills to pay. And
oh, yeah, no, I know, but in terms of your presenting issue.
Oh, my goodness, yes, absolutely. It's like a weight lifted off our shoulders. I mean, we still pay everything now, and we have learned a valuable lesson by going through Mitch. But, yeah, I think it was more that he's a friendly voice at the end of the line. You know what I mean? He took us in under his wing and he helped us out. And I'd be forever grateful to him.
And obviously in your voice you can hear the difference this has made.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this time last year, you know, we were in a completely different situation. So we didn't know from one end of the week to the next whether we would have a roof over our head. You know what I mean? So to be on this side of it, looking back, I can say we are absolutely relieved. And thank God for the insolvency.
Great story. Thanks, Mary.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. I have to put this to you, Mitch. Right, okay. Is there an element, again, it's a question I put to you, you know, of being let out of jail here?
Hugely. People need to know where they can go. There are a lot of armchair experts out there, or barstool experts, or however you might put it. There are structures in place. Lorcan heads up the Insolvency Service of Ireland, which is a fantastically resourced facility for the citizens of the country. We have a law that provides a structure for how people who are struggling with debt will not service debt living below a certain level of income. So the first thing that happens, and people need to understand, is the electricity gets paid, the food bills get paid, and children get looked after, and then we deal with it.
But who's taking up the tab? Do you know what
the tab has already been picked up. I mean, the bad lending, the issues that happened a while ago. Now what we're doing is we're cleaning up situations. We're recognizing them for what they are. People,
because what you're going to the credit card companies, the banks.
Well, we go to them personal insolvency is a very holistic process. We look at the full situation of the debtor and the debtor's dependents. We identify what assets that they have and what debts that they have. Any unnecessary assets, one shouldn't expect to go through personal insolvency and keep the holiday home in Kerry.
Right? All right, I see what you're saying.
If it was there.
Okay.
But the family home is treated in a special way, and that's set out in legislation. So are the reasonable living expenses. And whatever capacity you have to deal with the debt, that will never get paid anyway.
Right. That's the bottom line, isn't it?
That's the bottom line.
I think that's exactly the key point, that this legislation has been set up to ensure that there is an appropriate balance between the interest of all parties. John, in arriving at his solution, will have offered the most he possibly can to his creditors, as would have Mary.
And he hasn't been running away from them.
Exactly, but ultimately it's in the interest of both sides to actually resolve the difficulty and move on. It's better for the banks to deal with their bad debts and start acting as a normal bank again, and it's clearly better for the debtor to get their life back.
Okay, I'll give John the final word in a minute, but let's talk about tonight's meeting.
Well, as I said, we've done a number of things, including the launch of backontrack.ie in response to the fact that we believe numbers should be higher, and that the service that we do provide does offer real light at the end of the tunnel for debtors. A further element of that is the fact that we are going around the country talking mainly to community leaders. Debtors are welcome to come, but it's primarily focused to community leaders, MABS people, citizens information people, constituency office staff of politicians and so on, because these are the people that debtors tend to go to in the first instance.
Okay.
So the event is designed to ensure that they are aware of what we offer.
So it's tonight at the Viking Hotel on the Cork Road here in the city at 8 o'clock. Okay. John.
Half 7.
Sorry, 7:30. The difference is made to you, briefly.
Massive difference. It's completely changed my life. I can now look to the future and know that there's a future there. I'm 6 months into a five-year arrangement. I know at the end of the 5 years that I'll be back to square one again, we'll say, and I'll have my life ahead. I can look ahead, and the weight off the shoulders is just unreal.
Okay, well done you, and congratulations to everybody involved. The Insolvency Resolution Service, the local number is 1890 131 131. My thanks to Lorcan O'Connor, Director of the Insolvency Service of Ireland, also to Mitchell O'Brien, who is personal insolvency practitioner, beg your pardon, in Dungarvan, and also to John and to Mary, who joined us on the programme. Thanks very much.